Welcome to the Thursday Night Football Monkey Knife Fight Preview Show. Jim Coventry from RotoWire here, getting you set up. We're missing Connor Rowntree. He will be back next week, no doubt. The man will be back. We have Raiders. We have Rams. We potentially have a brutal football game. Baker Mayfield gets claimed by the Rams early this week. He'll be active. Don't expect him to play. A, not very good. B, he doesn't know the playbook. It would be irresponsible to put him in a starting role. Now, John Wolford has a bit of a neck issue. Game time decision, trending toward playing. It could be Bryce Perkins, more of a mobile quarterback. My guess is one of them would have to be inactive. The second would have to get hurt to see Baker Mayfield. Now, will we see Baker Mayfield later in the season? I hope not. He needs to be in a situation that's solid. He would have no protection behind a decimated Rams offensive line. So if they bring him in, don't pick him up for fantasy football. All right, in this game, though, look, we have Devontae Adams, the red hot Josh Jacobs. Heck, both Adams and Jacobs are hot. Let's break this game down a bit. So first of all, let's look at Derek Carr, who we have at 255.5 passing yards. Now, Carr, he's gone under that number in 7 games this year. But he's gone over in 3 of his last 6. So there's a little bit of a trend pushing over. Now, the Rams, the quarterbacks that faced him recently, they've been getting scorched a bit. Geno Smith lit him up for 367. Patrick Mahomes, of course, went for 320. No digs there. Andy Dalton, 260. That's higher than Derek Carr's number. Even Colt McCoy, 238 yards. So this is a defense that's struggling. Now, you got to understand, this week, Aaron Donald misses a second straight game. A'Shawn Robinson, defensive end, he's on the IR. And the third corner who plays frequently on the outside for the Rams, David Long, he's out. So the Rams are decimated. This is not the Rams defense of earlier in the season. Not that it was setting records, but this defense is largely decimated. Now, look, and I'll get into this a bit later too. It's a short week. The Raiders have run Josh Jacobs heavy, and we'll talk about him in a bit. But I think in this game, they're going to have to ease Jacobs' workload a bit. Now, if there's a game script that leads to more running, I don't think so. I think regardless, they need to throw to take some pressure off of Jacobs. And with the recent production against the Rams, yeah, Carr's going over. Carr needs a game. He needs a big game here. And it's an opportunity for him to get that. Now, the other side of the ball, Cam Akers. He has a monkey knife fight number of 49.5 rush yards. Now, Akers, he hasn't looked terrible the last 3 weeks. At least 14 carries and 60 yards in 2 of his last 3 games. Now, that was against New Orleans, who is a good run defense, against Seattle, who's a terrible run defense. Now, against Kansas City, because of game script, he only had 8 carries, but he got 37 yards. So he was productive there. And we know Cam Akers, he started the season horribly. But in the last 3 games, he's 4 yards a carry. Now, remember, he was struggling to hit 3 early on. Now, the issue in this game could be, if Las Vegas gets a lead, which they very well could, Akers could quickly be game scripted out. They're not using him as a passing down back. That is really the territory where we are seeing Kyren Williams. Now, in terms of rushing allowed, Raiders may be a little better than expected. Austin Eckler, 10 carries, only 35 yards. Even Ken Walker recently, 14 carries. He didn't even hit 2 yards per carry, 26 yards. Now, Latavius Murray, he's 3 yards a carry almost every game. He was 17 carries, 49 yards. Now, earlier in the season, Jonathan Taylor, Travis Etienne did well. But recently, the defense had been better. But like I pointed out, no Aaron Donald. I'm sorry, other side of the ball. We're talking about the Raiders defense. Oops. Raiders defense, they've been stuffing the run much better. And so I think Cam Akers, the problem, like I said, if Vegas gets the lead, Cam Akers is going to be scripted out. I'm going less than the 49.5 yards because I think that's exactly what happens in this game. Now let's talk about Devontae Adams. Devontae Adams, big monkey knife fight number of 94.5 yards. Now, I don't expect Jalen Ramsey to be on Adams full time. The Rams like to use him in the slot a lot because he can control the middle of the field. And I believe they think they could double on the outsides when they need to. Now, remember, David Long is out here. There is always a chance they could decide to move Adams and Ramsey together. That could happen. The Rams could deploy Ramsey in that way. They may. But I don't think they have done that consistently enough. I don't think that's their plan coming in. And remember, I keep talking about the players who are missing for the Rams. The Rams are not getting pressure. They are a bottom third of the league pressure rate per Pro Football Focus. And without Aaron Donald and A'Shaun Robinson, that pressure is non-existent. So Derek Carr, who is hypersensitive to pressure, will have time to throw. So look, Davante Adams has at least 94 yards in 7 of his last 9 games. And in one of those games, apparently he was sick. So he has just been dominant. Now, the Rams, they just gave up 127 and 128 yards to teammates, DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. 102 yards to Chris Olave, 98 to DeAndre Hopkins. The same game, 94 yards to Rondale Moore. The only team in the last 4 that doesn't have a receiver that's posted the needed yards that Davante Adams needs for the Moore, 95 and a half, was the Chiefs. And the Chiefs toyed with them. So, yes, Adams is more here. Now, we talked about him earlier, Josh Jacobs. His number, again, very high, 90.5 yards. But why not, right? I mean, he has been on fire. Now, when people are looking at fantasy lineups and fantasy statistics, they're seeing, oh, man, the Rams are the number 1 defense in the league against the run. 5th time I'm mentioning it. 2 top players on the defensive line are out. This is not the number 1 defense. This is a middling at best run defense. Now, the bigger question is, and I mentioned this at the top of the show, will the Raiders pile up Josh Jacobs' work on a short week, Thursday Night Football? In the last 4 games, Josh Jacobs has handled 121 touches, 30 touches a game. I don't think it's responsible with a 3-day game break before the Thursday game to load him up again. Now, earlier in the season, he had 3 straight dominating performances that ended in week 7. And then the following 2 weeks, they gave him 10 carries in 17 before they ramped up his workload again. That seems to be a little bit of a trend we can bank on here. So I do think that they're going to back him off on a short week. If we knew he was getting 25 carries, 20-something carries, he'd be an easy more. But my narrative, it's going to be less than 90.5 yards. People aren't going to like that. But again, short week, it means a lot. Let's look at one more player. I think we'll look at a couple more. Let's look at Tyler Higbee here. So this one's interesting, right? Now, Tyler Higbee, 3.5 receptions on Monkey Knife Fight. Now, 9 different tight ends, that's a lot, have gone over 3 catches against the Raiders. Now, Higbee, he's had 3 different quarterbacks lately. He had Stafford, Bryce Perkins, John Wolford. He's had 2 or fewer catches in 5 of his last 7 games. Now, he has an 8-catch game and a 4-game catch thrown in there, but he's mostly been less. Now, his targets, though, have been decent. He's seen at least 5 targets in 4 of his last 6 games. But look at game plan for the Raiders, right? Van Jefferson's your number 1 receiver. Tyler Higbee's their best option. So the Raiders will logically put some attention on Higbee and make John Wolford or whoever's tried out a quarterback throw to the outsides. They want to take that away. And so the Raiders, they're going to hold Higbee to less than that 3.5 receptions. One more, Van Jefferson. He has a number of 40.5 yards on Monkey Knife Fight. Now, remember the Raiders, the pass defense hadn't been great, but Nate Hobbs, their best corner, missed significant time. He came back last week. That's a massive boost to that Raiders secondary. Now, Van Jefferson, he's played regular snaps in his last 3 games, but in those games, he's had 2 or 3 catches in each. And his yardage, he has a 41, a 29, and a 39. And imagine this, I'm repeating, his Monkey Knife Fight number, 40.5 yards, right in that area. Now with John Wolford, 2 games, he had a 3 catch for 27 performance, but that game was only on 17 snaps. And Cooper Kupp played that game. So we have to kind of write that one out. So last week, though, against Seattle, 39 yards, but on 2 catches. And that's the problem. The catches aren't there. And the Rams' offensive line issues, that's where the problem comes up. Because they're not going to protect Max Crosby. Look, Chandler Jones isn't playing great, but against this line, he can get damage done. So it's going to be tough for Van Jefferson to get downfield catches. And that pressure is going to make it very rough for a bottom three pass protecting offensive line per Pro Football Focus. So again, deep pass is not there. We're going less. Now, touchdown dance. We can't overthink this one, right? I mean, Josh Jacobs, short touchdown. Devontae Adams sees red zone targets. On the Rams side, it's going to have to come early. Cam Akers, while the game is close, could be a pass interference in the end zone, could be a ball inside the 3-yard line. Cam Akers is the one that's going to get the short touchdown for the Rams. Now, game prediction. So the game flow, what do we expect is going to happen here, right? As we look at this game, we mentioned earlier, those Rams injuries are crippling, both on offense and on defense. The short week isn't helping the Raiders here, but the Raiders are going to be able to lean on their passing game. Again, they're going to rest Jacobs a little bit, in my opinion, because of the short week and the heavy workload he's had. But this is the week where Derek Carr is in a great spot, and they'll be able to get out to an early lead. The Rams will try to run the ball. It's not a good run defense to go against lately, as they've been tough, so they're going to struggle. They are going to fall behind. And when they have to pass, it's going to be even more problematic because they don't have enough diversity in their passing attack. So this is just too much for them right now. And look, the Rams have to be mentally checking out at this point. So look, not a fun Thursday night game, but a monkey knife fight, it is always a fun game. I see the Raiders winning this one 27-10. So if you are one to play the point spread, the Rams minus the points, I like the under here. I love the Rams team total under. Now, where you can find me, you can find me at Jim Coventry NFL. I post threads on wide receivers, running backs, tight ends throughout the week. Anything interesting, prop bets, I post those up on Twitter. You can find me on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Channel 87 on Saturdays from 1 to 3 Eastern and 9 to 10 Eastern on Sundays, and always on RotoWire.com. For Jim Coventry, good luck playing Monkey Knife Fight Week 14, Thursday Night Football.